have nothing, nothing, nothing. Don't make me close one more door. I don't want to hurt anymore. Stay in my arms. Ooh, I was doing this better on my other.
Must I
imagine you there? Don't walk away from me. Don't walk away from me.
Don't you dare walk away from me.
Oh wait, no. If I don't, wait, yes, I don't have nothing.
If I
don't have you. Ooh. Oh, she didn't do that justice, bitch. But it's still, I was trying. I was trying.
Yes.
You know, welcome back to another episode of Two Saved Queens. We're recording a couple days after the birthday of Miss Whitney Houston. R.I.P.
Oh, Queen.
Man. What age? Let's see. She died.
2012. 2012. She was 48.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, she had lost her voice by then, but still, you know, it was still our Whitney. We still loved her. Oh goodness. What's your favorite? I'm joined by.
Introduce a hoe. Damn, bitch.
Sorry, this is Miss Malachi singing badly. I'm joined by my fellow Whitney stan, Miss Deveraux.
Hey, girl. How y'all doing? Yeah.
Yes. What's your top Whitney song, girl?
Yeah, I Have Nothing is my favorite Whitney song. That's my favorite one, yes. And then I'm
sad I butchered it.
I like two more of my favorite Whitney songs. Okay, I like I'm Your Baby Tonight. I love that song. That's just
nice upbeat, nice club. Good one.
And then I love Shoop from the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack.
Interesting.
I like 90s Whitney. I like 90s Whitney more than I like 80s. The 80s Whitney, you know, I want to dance with somebody. I mean, I'm okay with that, but that's like on some pop tea, white tea. And I thought Whitney's 90s Whitney was more R&B. I feature 90s Whitney more. I love it.
White queens love the I Want to Dance with Somebody.
They do.
That's their song, girl.
They do.
End of the night. I think mine, I love I Have Nothing. But I think one of my, like, All the Man I Need, girl, that's the anthem. Oh, yeah. That's all I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love the live when she was on Antonio, what's his face? And
Arsenio Hall, yeah.
Oh, you gotta watch that version, girls, if you haven't. One Moment in Time. Oh, just when she's just like that slow build up. Give me one moment in time. Ooh, chills.
We'll never have another. To me, I'm from Detroit, and I know the girls stand for Aretha in Detroit, and I'm an Aretha girl too. That's my queen. But Whitney, to me and my 81-year-old godmother, we always say Whitney is the greatest voice of our time. Like Whitney, there will never be another Whitney.
Because it was just so effortless. Yes. So special. We got to move along to talking about some other Black women in the news, because we're recording this on Tuesday, where Mr. Joe Biden, our Democratic nominee, although officially next week after the convention, just announced his VP pick of Miss Kamala Harris, and I finally said her name fucking right.
Yeah. For once, bitch, your goddamn senator, girl. That's your senator.
I know, bitch. I say that lady's name all up, Miss Kamala. I let me not even play around, because then I'm gonna start getting it wrong again. So, girl, how you have some tea about how do you feel about this? About, you know, just in general, the election. Like, let's do a little check-in.
Yeah, she was Miss Kamala Harris was my top pick. Like, I thought because
you were worried about Miss Susan Rice, who was potentially the other top.
Yes, and I love Susan Rice too. Like, she was the national security advisor, you know, for President Obama, along with the UN ambassador. So she was.
Although she did it, wasn't she the one who had that? No. I'm thinking about someone else. Karen Bass did the Kente clock.
Yeah, that was Karen Bass. And she was in the running, too. She was, you know, a congresswoman from the LA area. But, Susan Rice was the national security advisor and the UN ambassador under President Obama. Very smart woman. Very into,
because
intelligence, national security, and she really was caught up in the Benghazi tea. Like, she, had a moment, a WMD kind of moment, like that where Colin Powell, remember when Colin Powell went before the UN and said there was weapons of mass destruction? And she had a moment like that where she went on all the Sunday political talk shows and said that the Benghazi attacks were related to a video of, Americans burning a Quran, right? And it ended up not being related. It just ended up being an unrelated terrorist attack. So the Republicans, they obsessed over Benghazi, where 4 Americans died. They were going to use that against her. Meanwhile, 163,000 have died from corona. But
how many, girl?
Like 163,000, girl.
Oh yeah, quiet as it's kept though. He's doing the best he can.
yeah, right, bitch. So
it is what it is. Isn't that what he said in that interview last week?
He sure did. But Miss Kamala, back to Miss Kamala, I am very excited about her because I think that I'm glad that Black women are being recognized by the Democratic Party finally, because they are the most loyal Democratic voters. So
they are the core.
They are
the foundation.
And so even though obviously there's some detractors, Kamala was a longtime prosecutor. Of course, that in this moment, and this Black Lives Matter moment, that might be a liability, but
I think she's gonna have to reconcile that or kind of own up to it. You can't erase your past, but
But I think she'll do it though. I think she can rise to the challenge and explain. I do.
Yeah. She's got to. I think in this moment you can't. I mean, also when you're paired with Biden, girl, they still talking about the crime bill, even though technically it's more complicated his involvement, but he has. There are things that he's been involved in with corporal punishment. But in this moment, when we're talking about, defunding the police, abolitionists, this abolitionist movement, we're not just looking at, the police. We're looking at the whole system of punishment, which includes the court system, which includes prosecutors.
How do you feel about it? How do you feel about Ms. Kamala?
I think one of the things that we knew it was going to be a woman because he said it was going to be a woman, and thanks to some Amy Klobuchar shenanigans, and fairly so, and also because I think we're in this moment, basically the white women kind of took themselves out of it. So I really did like Elizabeth Warren, but I also think I wanted to see a Black person, and I loved seeing a Black woman. I wasn't familiar with Susan Rice. So for me, Kamala was the person I was more familiar with. I was a little surprised because she went hard at him in those debates.
She did,
that whole bus moment about the segregation and all that, because he was kind of on the wrong side of that too. Obviously they reconciled or, worked it out.
I saw a CNN piece like moments ago before we were recording about, 2 things related to that. So number one, he said, he talked to President Obama before he made his choice, and President Obama encouraged him to choose someone who had run for president already and had been through a grueling campaign. And obviously Kamala Harris fit that mold versus Susan Rice, who has never actually run for anything. She's been appointed to all her positions. So...
And you got to be ready for Miss DJT and those Republicans, because those girls are going to go hard.
And the other thing, too, and, Joe Biden said, unlike Donald Trump, unlike Miss DJT, she doesn't hold a grudge. So she understands, like, politics and campaigning, and she doesn't hold a grudge. Miss Joe Biden, she doesn't hold a grudge, rather. And so she, bygones.
And I mean, I know there are people who kind of feel like, oh, she's, coming on a bit late to like own up her Blackness. I mean, I think she has a white partner, right?
Yeah, she's a white husband. She has
a white husband. So it's worth knowing that she is Black, but she's also South Asian. So we're getting 2 for 1. So there's some people who are like, oh, but I think there's something also where she did go to, Howard, went to HBCU, one of the top tiers. She's an AKA. Like, she definitely is Black and understands her Blackness. I think maybe she wasn't the most vocal about it in the election, but also I wasn't following her as much, and even being in California.
But she was pretty vocal about it during her run about being a Black woman. I think it's her prosecutorial record that people are holding
that's
against
what it
her.
is. Because I feel like she was, she's a Black woman. Like, I think let's not play. But I think, yes, the girls the moment we're in, the girls are gonna wanna hear it. I want to hear about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, how in general though, girl, how you feeling about? I mean, where we're going to be going? We're starting to get sweaty, girl. We're starting to get into it. Like,
yeah.
How you feeling?
The DNC, the DNC convention is next week. The virtual convention. They got Miss AOC speaking. They got Bernie's going to speak. They got President Obama. They brought Bill Clinton back, which I thought was an interesting choice. I thought he could have stayed.
I love some Bill Clinton.
I know, but I feel like we're not in a Bill Clinton moment. I feel like Bill Clinton should be. He needs to be a behind the scenes girl these days. With that Jeff Epstein stuff. No, I'm serious. I don't know why they bring that girl back. Like, let her stay in the past. Bring Hillary. Let Hillary speak for a little bit, but let Bill.
That's establishment, girl. Yeah. I mean, technically before Obama, it was Bill, right? That was the one, the first black president. Get out of here with that.
Anyway. Yeah, but girl, it's so funny because but there is I'm a little upset to see there's so much cynicism around this election. Maybe because of, the girls, their primary candidate didn't win, whether it was Bernie, whether it was Elizabeth Warren, whether it was whoever it was, and I understand that because my first pick was Elizabeth Warren too, and I actually did always have a place for Kamala in the back of my heart too. I actually donated to Elizabeth Warren and Kamala at the same time. But I really, Elizabeth Warren, you and me both were Elizabeth Warren girls to start. And I think, and then the Bernie girls, we know how the Bernie girls go hard too. But I'm just saying like things like, I had a little bit of a back and forth with our fellow podcaster, a girl who's much bigger than we are, but, so I don't even want to put us in the same lane as her, but, from the Read, Miss Crystal from the Read, King Crystal. And she wrote something on Twitter earlier today before the announcement of Kamala Harris, okay? King Crystal, also known as Crystal from the Read, wrote, realizing that I truly don't care who the VP pick is, largely because I don't believe we'll have a fair election anyway. Plus, nothing about a Biden presidency is appealing other than the fact that he is not Trump. I'm barely motivated to vote. Okay, so I responded from our Two Save Queens account. I did. I said an honest critique, but also one that may suppress votes from young people who listen to you weekly. Okay? And I acknowledge that word suppress. I should have used a different word because that has, very, targeted meaning, right? That has
voter suppression.
Yeah. Yeah. I should have said discourage young people from voting or whatnot because that kind of, she has a huge platform. They have hundreds of thousands of listeners a week. She has hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter. And to say I'm barely motivated to vote, I don't think we'll have a fair election. Come on, that's like classic, telling people in certain words that, does our vote really matter? Do you, in so many words, I'm concerned about that message, right? And her stands came at me on Twitter. They were saying, oh, but if you listen, every week she talks about,
those girls came hard. They're like, if you listen to the show, bitch, it's not her. Like, those girls, we had some butches up in there. Those girls were coming for your neck, honey. Yeah.
Except lesbian fish came at us real hard too. Like lesbian fish came at us hard, which
I mean we don't even all types of fish, girl. All types of Reed fish. Has a lot.
Yeah, all types of fish. But the issue is they can't say like if you listen to the show, you would know that she talks about voting every week and how important it is to get that orange asshole out of there, getting Trump out of there, and. And suppress. Wow. Now they had a valid critique about the word suppress. I was just tweeting kind of quickly, so I wish I'd use a different word. And I acknowledge that in the reply tweets that I gave. But then what kind of like got me is Crystal retweeted my tweet and then also said, if you think I have that kind of power, what she said exactly? Let me just see what she said. Okay, because it was just shocking.
If my tweet is enough to stop young people from voting, then this country is in even more trouble than I thought. And then under that, she said, this assumes a level of power that I simply do not have, a.k.a. she feels like I don't have that much power.
Yeah, and I mean, like, okay, girl, you have a platform with hundreds of thousands of, listeners /
Bitch,
voters.
you got a TV show.
Yeah. And then her Twitter following. Okay, so granted, some girls are like, oh, well, her listeners, they're mostly millennials and they're smarter. They're really educated millennials and educated black millennials, and they know better than to not vote. And she always talked about voting on the show. But these Generation Z girls are Twitter girls hardcore. You see Generation Z hardcore on Twitter. We follow a bunch of them from our official Twitter page, like the 20-year-old Generation Z girls and the college girls. And some of them, a lot of them are not necessarily podcast girls. A lot of them don't necessarily listen to podcasts, but they're heavy on Twitter. So they go and they see that tweet that, I barely want to vote from a girl with this kind of platform. And, the election, will probably be rigged anyway, sounding like Miss DJT. They're going to take that to heart, a lot of them. I even if they don't listen to her, they see this very big, black female personality, media personality talking this way. And that just, people start seeing more and more of that in an echo chamber, and it discourages them from voting. I mean, that's my main issue with her tweet. And so,
I think it's just downplaying. It's that way of like, elite are giving up your responsibility to say like, oh, I'm not a role model. Like, bitch, you're a role model.
Yeah.
You have over 100,000 followers. You've been doing a show for 10 years. Even for some of those people come in and write into your show asking you whether they should leave their man who cheated on them 5 times. Like, you don't think they're going to care about whether you think they should vote or not? Like, and I'm not saying that she doesn't care about that, but I think sometimes it's easier for people who start to get a certain level of fame and privilege to kind of not think about that, because it's a lot to take in. I'm sure it's a lot to feel like, oh, I can influence people.
Yeah.
But young people are influenced by celebrities, and I think you kind of made that point about how those vote as why they use celebrities. Like, she is a celebrity, whether she wants to acknowledge that or not.
Exactly. And, another girl, she used the wrong words too, but another girl came at her right after I did and said, girl, we listened to you week after week reading DJT and explaining how this party needed to get the fuck out ASAP. Now that you have an opportunity to engage an audience, whether you accept it or not, you chose not to. You should be more strategic. And then she replied to that, I don't know what it means to gauge an audience. So because the girl said gauge instead of engage, but she knew what the girl meant. To engage an audience. But I'm a private citizen. No, you are not a goddamn private citizen. You are not a private citizen with a 200... Okay.
You're a citizen, but you are a public... You're a public personality.
Fuck
you're a public figure,
fucking right? Private citizen. That's some bullshit, bitch. Who has zero interest in strategizing. I'm trying to survive this year like everyone else. Fuck that. You are not a private... You are a public figure. You have a platform, you have responsibility, you have 200,000 plus Twitter followers, and not just 200,000 Twitter followers, hundreds of thousands of listeners every week. But the Twitter following, I don't necessarily listen to The Read every week, right? I know you're more of a listener to their show than me. I've listened to a few episodes. I don't usually finish them because they're very long. But I mean, we go long too, but not nearly as long as they do. Anyway, though, but yeah, if I just saw that on Twitter, I would just be like, what the fuck is she saying? Like, she has hundreds of thousands of followers. Why would she say something like that?
I think we talked about it a little bit we did our episode about role models and Miss RuPaul. And I think there's something to be said about this moment is hard for some girls and even the girls with platforms. And I think not everyone is equipped to manage it. Like, it's a lot. And I think what is calling us to be, like, we started this show because of this moment. I think for some girls, they have platforms, but maybe they don't necessarily want to feel like they need to speak on everything. Because who knows what else is going on in her life. Like, I'm not going to assume that. But I feel like you made a fair point. Just the fact that, like, you do have power and influence, whether you acknowledge it, whether you use it or not. It's up to you. But don't pretend you don't have it.
So I think the thing about her being a private citizen, I think that ticked me off more than even her tweets
really?
To me. Yeah, because you are a public figure, you have a platform. Because there are.
But I think there's girls who just think that, like, I just do this little podcast, and it affords me a living, and I have tons of emails and stuff. But I'm not Beyonce, I'm not Janelle Monáe, I'm not AOC, but.
We're a little podcast. They're a big podcast, girl. And I even consider us having a platform, like, where we need to be mindful of the things we say in terms of, voting and yeah, all of those kinds of things. Even outside of voting, like I consider it, even with our, a few little listeners we have. Thank you all for listening. No, we love you. But, even with the listeners we have, I consider us having a platform. So their platform is, exponentially greater than ours. And yet I feel like that was irresponsible on their part. But I'll just leave it there. I mean, I know we probably have a lot of cross listeners between our show and theirs. So
yeah, maybe. Let us know. Come in.
Yeah, let us know. Email us.
Tell us that you're mad at us. Tell us that we should have minded our business. Not to come at King Crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's really some tea there, but. We're now going to move on. So we're changing up the show a bit because we're some fast and loose girls.
Yeah.
So, but now we're gonna kind of play around with the format a little bit. So we're in a way kind of combining our news and our Enlightened Judies segment. So the topics are maybe gonna be a bit more related to the news, not always, but more often. And this really is going to flow really well. So it'll give us a chance to get a little bit deeper, instead of trying to hit like a lot of stories at the same time. Cause we're sorry girls. Like y'all girls got to just start going to read some news sources. We get it, but we'll still, bitch. Also, it wears a bitch out. She trying to keep, going to Lebanon and Russia and Brazil and Colombia.
Yeah, we some global girls for real. We gave y'all some global tea.
Girls, and still trying to take care of what's happening up at home.
Yeah,
no, but we'll still have Miss Deveraux, and I may debut a little news segment on another day of the week, or maybe even the same day. So we're still figuring it out. But our main shows are going to be a little different. So to start off, we talked about Miss Kamala. Ooh, girl, almost messed it up. So this episode is going to be all about firearms tea, black gun ownership, because, we got to be ready to protect her, honey, because now we got we got a sister in the house, and it's more a part of me kind of feels it's more dangerous now than it was when Obama went up in there.
Yeah, I actually agree.
These white people out here Miss DJT got them riled up. Okay, showing up to courthouses, or showing up to the Capitol with guns and shit. So
and y'all girls got to be ready for the race war. Y'all got to. It's like don't just talk about it. Be about it.
It's so funny. So that lead us in, girl, because one of the things I read about is how black gun ownership has increased, and some of it has been with everything happened with coronavirus, but actually a lot of it happened after what happened to George Floyd. Like the girls are like, we're not about that kumbaya life anymore, bitch. We're about that strap up.
Yes.
One of the things I love to see is like the new Black Panthers, bitch. They've been out there in Miss Louisville, protesting Miss Breonna with fucking all in black with their fucking guns.
I was here for it. Well, I was here for it, girl. They had those AKs, they had those ARs, girl. And I'm not an automatic weapon or semi-automatic weapon type of girl, but some girls gotta have those weapons. If it's not me, but some girls gotta have those for the fight.
One or two of y'all gotta have it, to be ready to mow down the racists when they coming for us. But I mean, part of this conversation also comes off the back of Miss New York Attorney General, Miss Letitia James, or as I recently saw David Hogg, who was one of the Parkland High School survivor. Sorry, is it Parkland?
Yeah, it's Parkland High School in Florida.
Yeah, Parkland survivors. Call her Miss Tish James. I'm like, oh, they close. And Miss Tish James just filed a lawsuit against the NRA around. If you didn't know, because bitch, for a long time I didn't know.
Oh, you know what? It's Marjorie Stone. It was Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida.
But in Parkland, yeah.
Florida,
But I mean,
right outside
Parkland,
of Fort Lauderdale, it's in Broward
so,
County, Florida.
She's a Parkland High School girl.
Mm-hmm.
They recently filed a lawsuit claiming. So the NRA, if you didn't know it, as one of the biggest lobbying groups, I think it's up there. It spends like crazy amount of money. Like it's up there with like a Blue Shield and Blue Cross or like the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. It is up there. It's so old. I didn't even realize that shit has been around for like 140 something years. Like presidents have been like U.S. presidents have been the president of the NRA. Like, she's been around for a minute.
She has.
Actually, she came off the back, I think, of the Civil War of all time. Oh, maybe that fits, but of like wanting to establish itself. And it's only in the 1970s that she used to be bipartisan. And it's only in the 1970s when she started to kind of lean a bit more toward the right and Republicans and conservatives and kind of align herself with more of their kind of politics and more of their political values. I'm not sure how I bet there's some good articles somewhere about how that transformation happened. But if you didn't know, this bitch has been a non-fucking profit. She's a 501c3. And so that's the basis of this lawsuit, is the fact that you're fucking supposed to be a charity, but you've been fucking flying around your executives on private jets, getting Italian suits made, kickbacks, all this and that and third, to like the CEO, Wayne LaPierre, who's been in the news a bit. He's been in the news quite often.
He's like frequently the spokesman that you see, in news conferences, in interviews
at the Republican convention.
Yes, and actually, but so the NRA though, he's being charged by the Attorney General in New York with self-dealing. So what it is when you run a nonprofit, you're not supposed to be profiting from the nonprofit, right? Like you have
it's called a nonprofit.
Exactly. So you actually, you might have a salary and you might have certain benefits, tied to being an executive at a nonprofit. But for instance, you're not supposed to be having your dry cleaning paid from the nonprofit. You're not supposed to be having your personal vacations to, Africa to go on a safari paid from the nonprofit. Like allegedly Miss Wayne LaPierre had. And over time, over the last few years, Letitia James, the Attorney General, says that the executives at the NRA basically were self-dealing to the tune of $64 million, draining $64 million from the nonprofit NRA's coffers for their own benefit. Vacations, personal security, like suits, tailor-made suits in Beverly Hills. And it was at least 5 executives named in the suit. Executive Vice President Wayne LaPierre, former Treasurer and CFO, Wilson Woody Phillips, Chief of Staff and Executive Director of General Operations Joshua Powell, and Corporate Secretary and General Counsel John Fraser. And so this contributed to a loss of $64 million over just 3 years from the NRA. So that is just like, damn, like y'all were just draining the coffers, and it's the NRA was actually having financial problems even before Letitia James brought this suit, but they were struggling financially too beyond this grift, and they were struggling financially because after the Parkland shooting, those young people from Marjorie Stone and Douglas High School,
like David Hogg,
David Hogg and Cameron Kasky and
what's that girl's
name?
I'm gonna get her name.
Yeah, get her name. Along with groups like Moms Demand Action, which was I think founded from the Sandy Hook moms from the brutal tragedy in 2012 where a gunman entered Sandy Hook Elementary School. Emma Gonzalez, thank you. Entered Sandy Hook Elementary School in 2012. I think it was on December 14th, 2012. I remember that day too. And that was, remember when Obama came out and he was crying in the press conference, and they still killed
Sandy Hook. I couldn't believe that.
Killed kindergartners, 5-year-olds, and the Republican senators still were so controlled by the NRA. Thoughts and prayers. They didn't want to take any action against semi-automatic weapons or mandatory, wait periods or better federal background checks. Like, they didn't want to do any of that. And so the NRA has been the cause of that lack of gun reform after Sandy Hook, after Parkland, after Las Vegas in 2017, that shooting at the, that mass shooting at the concert there, the outdoor country music concert in Las Vegas. And so... And
there's a movie theater shooting after that Batman
Yeah, in 2012. That was in Aurora, Colorado. So it was just, so the NRA has been the main reason why that hasn't happened, because they call gun politics the third rail of gun politics, and anyone who crosses the NRA they would spend millions and millions of dollars against them in a campaign. And that's why people, even some Democrats, but mostly Republicans, were scared to go up against the NRA because they're such a big lobbying group, especially on the right. So, but they started losing out money because corporate sponsors, Wells Fargo, which used to handle their business accounts, stopped doing business with them after Parkland. And groups like Moms Demand Action, along with a group that Michael Bloomberg founded called Everytown USA, along with, the March, and Michael Bloomberg spends millions against the gun lobby, along with March for Our Lives. All of them have been actively working against the NRA, and it's been paying off in the form of a lack of corporate sponsorship, lack of corporate partners, lack of donors, and they were losing financially even at the start of the year. And then with coronavirus, they couldn't have their annual conference where they raised a lot of money. And so, hopefully they're on their way out.
Now, there's I read the interesting, I think it was in Politico, there's an interesting article basically saying, like, what can come from this, move by the New York Attorney General. And so a couple outcomes. One is that this will cause NRA to have an increased membership, like, because people feel like, even though the NRA is not the Second Amendment, but technically for them, a lot of people, a lot of people are like, they live and die by the NRA. Like, it's almost like a cult. Like, It protects. So for them, they feel like, oh, the Second Amendment is under threat because we can't protect ourselves. Like, honestly, something else I think would come into place if the NRA really did disappear.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are really, so one of the outcomes is potentially like, oh, there's going to be more, they are going to have more people signing up, more people wanting to, like, increase their membership. So an increase in membership. But the other thing that I thought was interesting was that potentially the NRA, like we said, huge lobbying group, big into the elections. Mr. Wayne LaPierre was at that last Republican convention. So the other thing potentially is that they, because of this lawsuit and then now also having to countersue, and again, like we're saying, they're already having money troubles. They don't have that same type of money to spend toward this election because now they basically got to spend that time fucking defending themselves. So they have time to spend with attack ads, or time to, our money to spend on ads, or, both defending Trump and, attacking the Democrats. So I think that was actually the other side of what can happen here.
Fighting those lawsuits, all those legal fees, that gets really expensive, right? So that's, even if the New York Attorney General and other states that are suing the NRA, even if these court cases alone could just bankrupt them, that is a huge victory, or at least bankrupt them to the point, or not necessarily bankrupt, but just like make them spend money to the point where they don't have money to spend on the election, to reelect DJT, like that. That's a huge victory.
Yes.
Even if they don't disband, but
even if she's not able to fully get them disbanded.
But we do need to remember. Okay, the NRA has 5 million members nationwide. I see the bumper stickers here in Michigan.
That's what they tell us.
They have about 5 million members, but really only 1 in 10 gun owners in this country belong to the NRA. Like, I'm a gun owner and I do not belong to the NRA.
That's interesting.
Very few black people I know, other than former NBA player Karl Malone, who was on their board. Very few black people I know.
But girl, don't you remember that? Don't you remember that Killer Mike ad? So do you think Killer Mike's still in the NRA?
And that's why I don't.
So Killer Mike was a rapper who was also a Bernie supporter, and they found some good time. Wasn't that? No, that was last year where it was literally around. Basically, she did an ad for the NRA, and of course, they released it with a whole. I think I wonder if it was after the Philando Castile shooting. Like, I think it was after a shooting. And I couldn't believe that bitch did that.
But they didn't. But the NRA didn't come. So the NRA always comes out and supports white gun rights. But where were they when Philando Castile was killed? Like, where were they fighting against? Philando Castile was a legal CCW permit holder, like a legal carried concealed weapon permit holder, and they didn't come out in arms for him, but they come out in arms for George Zimmerman, or other white vigilantes who killed, black teenagers who are unarmed. So it's just like, they're obviously a racist organization. I know an avid black hunter who does not fuck with the NRA. He's a big hunting and fishing guy, black guy. He hunts with some of those.
Is he sexy?
No, he was kind of an extended relative, so okay, I can't say objectively. But
is he single?
No, none of that. But he's so anti-NRA because he knows it's a racist organization. Even he is an avid gun owner, can acknowledge that, and same with me. And so, only 1 in 10 gun owners. So what groups like Everytown USA and Moms Demand Action, they actually do advocate for a new, more progressive gun organization to take the NRA's place. They want people like me to join gun groups that, you know, are still for reasonable gun control, or still for, you know, that are not going to lobby on behalf of Republican politicians to the tune of $60 million, like, and are open to, you know, maybe a better federal background checks and mental health checks and, you know, maybe a blanket ban on assault weapons. So, so I would be open to that. And I think, you know, 75% of gun owners support some kind of gun control. So it's not all crazy. Not all gun owners are crazy NRA.
It's like
girls.
You don't need an AR. Like, why? You don't need that type of gun that's used in acts of war. Like, to someone to be able to get that and go shoot up a high school. You don't need that.
But it's weird.
We might need it.
We might need it, girl, with the race war.
A lot of people might need it.
You know,
and that leads us into Miss Chicago, honey. Did you read all that? Are you caught up on all that, girl?
Yeah,
I loved it. I'm not gonna lie, I loved it. Yeah, loot that shit. Get your shit. Get your money, bitch. 400 years. Get everything, bitch. Get it on sale. For free. Like, and of course, Miss Lightwood, all like, oh, these hooligans, oh, I can't believe this. And I'm like, bitch, it fucking started. Like, the fact that the person didn't die, again, there's conflicting reports about whether he had the gun and whether he shot back. I don't fucking care. Police shot at a black person. Go tear shit down. And thankfully he didn't die, but I don't care. Go tear shit down. Go burn shit down. Go steal your shit. Get what you want. Like, we're done. Because it's that thing of, like, I think I talked about it, I don't know if it was last week or something, about this idea of, like, policy and, like, procedures and respect. It's like, bitch, that shit goes out the window when y'all fucking kill us day after day. Like, no, you don't deserve it. So what? We're supposed to respect these laws, but these motherfuckers can go kill us on the street? Fuck that shit. Now, we may have to deal with some federal officers showing up in Chicago because of it. But you at least got that you got that engagement ring that you wanted. You got that new those new sneakers that you wanted. So
the stores get restocked within a week. Like, the stores are back up and
so sick of seeing
back
and
up and running and restocked.
There are small
week.
businesses. I'm sure there's still. I'm sure there is some pain. There is some hurt that people feel, but I'm like, that's not the same as the lives that have been lost by Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Philando Castile, Trayvon Martin, these young men and women, these black people who are losing their lives. Like, you don't compare that to fucking products, fucking business, especially with some of the companies they went to. Wasn't that in, like, the nicer end of Chicago? Wasn't, like,
they went to the Magnificent Mile. They looted, like, the Nordstrom on the Magnificent Mile. So definitely it was a little wild. I think
fuck Miss Nordstrom.
You know, but
although I do like her. I do like I could take shit back anytime.
Yeah, she has a very generous return policy. She sure does.
I got a pair of heels. I gotta go get back to her. Anyway, we can.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is, I will say this: Miss Lori Lightfoot is the mayor of Chicago. She has to say things like that to maintain a little bit of law, like a little bit of order, right?
I'm especially because talking about the other gang in America's Miss Police Union, they would be ready to go in on that ass if she tried to even, parse words.
But here's the other piece of this. Like, when we think about Chicago, let's think about the white people, the white Republican critique. Oh, well, what about black on black crime? What about black on black shooting and violence, right? That's always the critique. But the origin of a lot of that violence, or the origin of a lot of the gun crimes, at least, comes from all the illegal guns that come from Indiana on the border with Illinois in the Chicago area, like, because they have such loose, unrestricted gun laws in Indiana, and those guns just flow right into Chicago, right across state lines. And then that's how all those guns get on the south side and west side of Chicago, so that gang members who can't, a lot of times, if you have a record, you can't legally buy a gun, right, if you're a felon. But all those criminals, all those felons, all those gang members have all these illegal guns, and a good deal of them come from Indiana because of loose gun laws. So gun control, in particular, they're always like, oh, well, Chicago has strict gun control. How is there so many shootings in Chicago? If they have strict gun control, or California has so much strict gun control, how are there so many gang shootings in LA? It's because in LA, the guns flow over from Nevada, which has very loose gun laws. Or in Chicago and Illinois, the guns flow over from Indiana, which have very loose restrictions on guns, right? Anybody can just go and buy one and they go right back to Chicago with it. So we really need some kind of national gun policy. We really do. We really do.
Well, we'll see if that's possible now, Miss NRA, on her last legs. But, I think, again, we were talking about it at the top of the show, bitch, fucking vote. I'm about to go check to make sure how I'm registered and all that.
Please.
Because if we get another 4 years, girl, ooh, child. I'm about to be doing this from another country, bitch.
And I'm never leaving because I'm strapped.
I know.
I'm strapped.
You ready to go down. Yeah. You ready to go down with the empire.
I'm going down with my country.
I'm going down with her. Yeah. I'm going down. Yeah. I'll be like, well, bitch, I'm coming to the funeral.
Girl, I mean, if I have... if the fascist Gestapo knock on my door and they come for me, I'm going out maybe, but I'm taking two out with me though. I'm taking two out with me.
Thing. It's like if they're at the door, bitch. Like, don't take one, bitch.
Take two.
So, bitch, how did you get here? So let's talk about how we got to our relationship. Like, I've evolved. I'll talk about my piece, but how did you get to being Miss strapped up Judy?
Yeah.
Have you always? Because you're a Midwestern girl.
Yes.
Oh, well, I always be thinking Michigan's technically on the Eastern, but
Eastern
like
time zone. But she's Michigan is a Midwest girl, and I think we're heavily influenced by the gun culture from the South because all the black people who came. Through the Great Migration, we're so tied to Alabama, Mississippi. My grandparents were from Arkansas and Beaumont, Texas. And my grandfather, I've been around guns since I was a very young kid. I learned to respect them at a very young age because my grandfather, I'd be 6 and 7 and we'd be getting ready to go out and leave the house, me and my grandfather, because we were always together. And he'd be like, hand me my gun. And I'd be 7 years old.
For what?
Because he took his gun with him? Everywhere he went.
Now, was that also because of Detroit at that time was that kind of girl where you need to have your gun on you?
Yeah, and he definitely shot a home intruder in 86. Like, he shot someone who broke in his home in 1986. So, yeah, he was that type. And then...
So he carried a gun with him when he left the house?
When he left the house, he had a gun on him. Wow. At all times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like on his person, or would he leave it in the car?
He might have carried two. It was always... It was always one in the car.
And then one on him.
It was always one in the car, because he always had it in the glove compartment. He always had it, which you're not technically, now that I know with the CCW, you're not really supposed to keep it in your glove compartment, but...
What's CCW?
Carrying concealed weapon permit. So you're not supposed to keep it in your glove compartment, but...
Where are you supposed to keep it?
Well,
like in your trunk?
You are supposed to keep the magazine and the ammunition separate from the gun. So the gun... so they have to be in two separate places.
Bitch, who got the time for that? If you need to shoot, bitch, you need to shoot. So I gotta cut my... Oh, okay. So then does that mean that maybe you'll have to... Can you keep the gun in the glove compartment and the magazine in the trunk?
Yeah, you could do something along those lines. You could do something like they have to be in two separate compartments of the car.
It's not supposed to be ready to go.
It's not really supposed to be ready to go, even though rarely do people follow that. Like, they follow that regulation to a T. The other piece of it too is when you have a season, there can always be one bullet in the chamber still though. So when you're so even if you have your magazine and your ammunition is separate, you might still have one in the chamber ready to go. So it's kind of okay. Yeah, it's some tea. Gun safety is a tea, and I think everybody needs to take a class on it. I think people need to go to the shooting range. I think don't just buy a gun and not practice.
So first off, girls need to get their guns. You feel like the girls should get their guns for the fall. Let's just be Tuesday Queen supports the Second Amendment.
Before the fall, before the election.
Why do you feel that? Because you really do think... what do you think? You think those girls are going to let her go?
If the Trump girls lose, they may act out, and we just don't.
Better safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry. Have ammunition. Have 100 rounds on deck. Have.
Is it 100 rounds?
Have 100. Yeah, have 100 rounds on deck at least, and have a firearm of some type that you're comfortable with and that you shot at the shooting range. Or
any recommendations for the first time girls?
I think the girls need to. I think that most girls need to focus on a 9mm rather than a revolver. I think because the revolver has so much pushback. Especially for smaller girls, or shotguns have so much pushback. I think the girls need to just get them some 9mm, and be ready to go. Like, if if the Gestapo come to their door, if the hillbillies come to their door, like whoever's coming at your door who doesn't belong at your door, be ready for those girls. Be ready for those girls. You know what I mean?
And you're not worried about like, because the law don't treat us the same. Like, you're just like,
you don't have to care. If you don't, especially if you don't have the opportunity to get
at least you're ready.
Have it in your home. Maybe I'm not. Have it in your home.
Shoot them in the leg. Or just have it ready.
You don't have to carry her. You don't, cause especially if you don't have a license to carry. Do not carry her if you don't have a license to carry, or keep it and have it in your home. So you need a
separate license to carry? I thought you just had a...
Yeah, especially depending on the state. So most states you will need a license to carry. Some states you don't. Some states are what we call... you have to have a license for concealed carry, meaning that you're not showing it. But other states are open carry states where you don't need a license to carry as long as you show it on your person. Michigan is one of those states where it's an open carry state. So if you carry a gun and it's visible, then you don't technically need a license to carry. But then there's all these regulations about, well, if you're actually in your car, automatically it's a concealed carry situation when you're in your car. So technically, if you have a gun in your car, you need a concealed carry permit. So if you're walking around down the street and you have it on your side, that's open carry and you're allowed to do that. In California, it's very strict. Like where you live, if you live in Los Angeles County, it's almost impossible to get a concealed carry permit. It's like you have to live in one of those outlying counties to get. So there's very strange gun laws. There's no uniform gun laws all around the country. Whereas Florida is like a free for all gun state. Like Florida is just like you can live out of state and have a gun there. You can just carry there. You can do whatever you want basically in Florida, as far as I know. And so.
She's that girl.
She's that type of girl. So, I just say everyone, all you have to do is pass the federal background check to get a gun to carry back home with you and have in your house. And that's what the girls need to do. So you don't even need to
prove that you can shoot a gun to get a gun?
No, you do not. No, you do not.
But literally, you have to pass the driver's test. And bitch, I almost failed my California driver's test a couple
times. Yeah, I remember that, girl.
Story for another time. Yeah. Don't be telling my business. A story for another time. But that's wild. So obviously, I'm asking all these questions because I have a different relationship with firearms where my father was very much against firearms, strangely. Like, he didn't even... I do remember this. Ooh, because, girl, my memory's been going, bitch. I gotta try and eat some more blueberries. But I do remember that I got... Again, this is some black family tea. I got a toy, like a police toy set where you have the handcuffs and the guns, and he took away the guns. He refused to even let me play with toy guns as a kid. Now, a little background tea. My dad was a Marine, and he fought in Vietnam. So I think there was probably he has a different relationship with firearms. Like, he never had a gun in the... Actually, I think there was some dispute between him and my mom where he actually did kind of want to have a gun in the house, but she wouldn't allow it. And they're both from the South. My dad from West Virginia, my mom from South Carolina. So, of course, Southern tea, especially like... We got some land down there. We would, that's why people didn't want us to have that land.
Black landowners in the South had to fight the KKK, girl.
My grandma definitely knew how to shoot a gun. Okay, but that they kind of left that, or at least my mom left that behind coming up north to Philly. But my dad traded his gun for a bat and a Rottweiler. That's why I still love Rottweilers to this day. Grew up around them. That was our gun. But yeah, he was not into guns, or he was not into me playing with guns. Got it. Like it wasn't even the police part. I think it was something about like guns for him. He was not into, and maybe there was that fear of like, thinking about Trayvon Martin T, like, if you're playing with a gun, you're playing with a toy gun.
Or Tamir Rice in
Tamir
12
Rice.
years old.
Sorry, that's a better relationship.
Ohio,
I think I meant
where
Tamir.
he had a toy gun and the police shot him. 12 years
looking
old.
Back on that, that's that T, right? So for me, I've always, I don't know why. For me, I think gun laws and regulations are necessary. I understand why people want guns, but it just feels like where we are as a country with guns is too far beyond. But I also think black people in this country, where we are and what we're dealing with, bitch, like,
I want us to be armed. Yeah, I want black people to be armed.
Because a part of me is like, I think I am kind of like anti-guns, but I think in this moment we're about to go into, the way these people are, girl, they stabbing us on, public transportation. They're just attacking people out of nowhere. They're driving into, Black Lives Matter protests. Yeah. Like, with people who have guns, because there was recently actually a white man who's married to a black woman.
It's in Austin, Texas,
killed.
for sure.
Yeah. So I think for this moment we're in, because it does feel like, girl, we're on that tittering edge. We're like, damn, bitch, are we about to have another little civil war tea? I'm not gonna go that far, but
be ready either way. Be ready either way.
But be ready, bitch. So, girl, if you had a husband and he was could you not date a man who was like, I don't allow guns in my, we can't have guns
I
in
could.
my house?
We couldn't date.
Or would you hide it in the garage?
No, it's not hiding. It needs to be. We couldn't be together. We couldn't be together.
That's tea.
That's tea.
And do you need it visible, or you just need it you need it in your? Well, you don't need to get into that, because maybe you're like, well, I don't need a bitch to know where I have.
I don't want to give all that type of tea. I don't want to give all that type of tea. I don't want to give that type of tea. But I will say this, like I think that you should have it ready to go. So what I learned too is like you actually do have somewhat of a duty to retreat if like someone breaks in your house. You actually should go.
Really?
Yeah, in a lot of states.
You shouldn't just be defending that entrance way.
In a lot of states, depending on like if you're like, let's say if you have kids or something in the house, then you need to go find the guy and shoot him, like my grandfather did in 1986. But if you like living solo, you're supposed to like go in your bedroom door, lock your door, call the police, and wait for them to come to you. And if they come to you, then you shoot. And that's called a duty to retreat. And in a lot of states, that's what.
Does that make it stronger? The argument for like self-defense stronger that you've done that?
Exactly. That's it makes your argument, because like sometimes you don't want to like have someone break in your house and you go with the gun and then they're fleeing and you shoot them in the back, because then you might get charged. That is an iffy scenario. So you have to be very, very careful, even with self-defense in your home, with how you approach it. But you don't want to be shooting anyone in the back, because that makes your case challenging. But I think you should have a gun in your home to protect your home, because you don't know, like, police response times vary by jurisdiction, or by municipality. Like, you need to be ready to defend your own home. You really do. And defend yourself against the rednecks or the Gestapo. Yeah.
So I think with that, we can move into, we're going to move into thoughts and prayers. Actually, we're going to move into a couple of different things. So first off, listener mail. We don't have any yet, because I'm saving it all for next week. We're going to do it next week? I'm pretty sure we're going to do it next week.
Yeah, I think
keep y'all on your toes,
yeah.
But it's probably going to be next week. So, again, I already have a couple. Ooh, I got someone ready about Miss Kamala. Ooh, I got it right again, bitch.
Ooh,
I tell you, I begin this lady's name wrong all the time. Won't she do it? So, so send us questions, comments, stories. How you feel about firearms? Who you want to be VP? Whether you're excited for AKA HUVP. What you're looking forward to the fall? Where you want to go? If you got let go, if you still got a job, if you do, if you found a side hustle, send us, if you broke quarantine to go get some D, if you chasing after a good man, if you're doing socially distanced dating, send it all to us at askthem, ASKTHEM at 2safequeens.com. And you can also leave us a message at 323-438-2827. But most of y'all bitches probably just going to email us. That's listener mail tea. Be ready for that. It's going to be fun. Thoughts and prayers. I kind of don't have any. I was surprised. I think, girl, I don't know.
We actually had some. I feel like we had some good news for a little bit, like with Miss Kamala.
Kind of, right?
Yeah.
Like with the VP, with Miss Letitia going after the NRA.
I mean, we need to put in some thoughts and prayers for the U.S. Postal Service, though. That girl is on the edge.
Yes. You know what?
They really. I mean, I'm worried about her.
Right. Yeah. Like, those Republicans have really gutted her to death, because they want to privatize the United States Postal Service. So I'm going to try and see if I can, I've read this so many times. I'm trying to see if I can vocalize it. Basically, what they required of them, which is the reason why the U.S. Postal Service barely, I think is actually in debt, but barely makes it, is they require them to basically have enough money for a pension 30 years out, and that's something that no other company or organization ever has to do. So thinking about pension, that's like your kind of retirement plan, right, girl?
Right.
Something like that?
Yeah, it's a defined benefit retirement plan. So, like, you're guaranteed a certain amount. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly.
So the fact that they need to have that much money on, like, if they didn't have to do it that far out, they would be fine. But that was just, it's that, and it's so crazy. Like, that's small little things that you're like, oh, well, pension seems good. Like, I bet it was pitched as a good thing for them and their employees. But the fact that they wanted to do it like that, and have it with such a long length causes to always go in the red. And that's why when y'all go to the postal service, there's only 1 or 2 people working there. So yeah, thoughts and prayers for her. Thank you for that, girl. Cause yeah, she's on her last leg. Like, I actually just sent a form letter earlier today. You know, I'm about to actually send something home. Maybe like use the postal service, use her. She's been around a bit. She's special. There's plenty of businesses that still, they don't want to use DHS or FedEx because she is a cheaper option. She gets it there, but she's really been struggling, like not even being able to deliver packages. And again, the people who are going to be affected, it's going to be people from our community. It's going to be elderly people of all races, like people who use these systems,
and some rural white people too. Like the rural areas are heavily reliant on the U.S. Postal Service. So yeah. Miss DJT, in her Postmaster General that she appointed, one of her multi-million-dollar donors is screwing over some of his own voters. So, and trying to stall ballots from getting in.
And I bet they're trying to do it even more because of that mail-in voting. Exactly. They don't want that shit to be able to happen. Exactly. So keep an eye on her. Go buy some stamps, girl. I think there was recently a Bugs Bunny and Drag collection, so I think I might go and purchase a couple of those stamps. I love Miss Bugs Bunny and Drag, girl. She's a fierce queen. So thank you for that, girl. I don't think we have any. Do you have any snaps for this week?
I just want to give 2 snaps to Miss Simone Sanders. Simone Sanders is one of the senior strategists and advisors to the Biden campaign, and I know
who left Bernie,
yeah. And she's also a family friend of ours, and we know her mom well, my family, and we know her, and we're very proud of her, and she probably had a lot to say in terms of the, choice for Kamala Harris as VP, and so we just want to salute her because she's fierce as fuck. Fuck, yeah.
Maybe we'll get her on the show one day.
One day, let's hope. But I think we can do it.
And that's our show. So, follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. TikTok's about to get banned, so I don't care about her. At 2 Save Queens. Don't forget to rate us and review us on the preferred podcast platform of your choice. Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, blah, 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 blah. I hope y'all stay safe, healthy, and saved out there. Make sure you get that voter register. Figure out what you need to do to get that ballot so you can vote. Bitch, take a little gun class, learn how to shoot that gun with y'all a color so you can be ready for the fall. And with that, we'll see you next week. And again, send us in, tea, any type of tea. I had someone ask me today, like, oh, do I need to, does it need to be all formulated? I'm not going to leave y'all out there. I'm not going to read word for word. I'm not going to read out y'all spelling mistakes. I'll fix up y'all shit. I'll make y'all look like, oh, so good. So send us whatever you want. With that, Miss Deveraux, do you have a final word?
Yeah, girl. I posted a bunch of stuff on Instagram about safer sex during the pandemic, girls. Wear a mask and only let him hit it from behind. I said it once.
Is that the tea? Because, girl, I'm not going to lie.
Only from the back.
Keep your stuff off the show.
Only from the back.
So is that it?
That's it.
So you wear a mask? Girl? So really wear a mask?
Both of y'all.
But where's the intimacy? Where's the...
Girl, this is not that time, ho. This is that hit.
He says he loves me, girl. He says he loves me.
Get that dick and let it hit. And then let it quit. Because this is not that time. Girl, stay safe.
All right, y'all.
Bye, girl.
See you next week.